at me. Time is running and we're down by 3. Look inside yourself, what do you see? The pain is in your mind, no, nothing stops me. Everyone is looking at me. Heart is pounding and we're down by 3. Look inside yourself, I know what I see. Do you have the guts to do it for me? Gonna sweat, gonna work, we're gonna burn, it's gonna hurt, we're gonna fight, we're gonna score, we're gonna win, we're gonna war. Right of the glass, kick some ass, kick some ass. Right of the cage, turn the page. Time to break, not gonna choke. Game over, no class, don't gloat. If we win, we'll be the GOAT. Do you have the heart to give him some hope? Everyone is looking at me. Time to protest, I'm on my knees. Raise my fist so that everyone sees. I'm gonna stand up for what I believe. Gonna sweat, gonna work, gonna burn, it's gonna hurt. We're gonna fight, we're gonna score, we're gonna win, we're gonna war. Right on the glass, kick some ass, kick some ass. Right of the cage, turn the page. Gonna sweat, gonna work, we're gonna burn, it's gonna hurt, we're gonna fight, we're gonna score, we're gonna win, we are going to war. Right of the glass, kick some ass, kick some ass. Right of the cage, turn the page.
Here we go.
Welcome to Puck and Pigskin. Great sports fans talking hockey and football with a dash of everything else.
Ready?
Hey, sports fans and friends. Thanks for tuning in on the Puck and Pigskin Facebook page, the Shotgun Sports Network YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are coming to you live from Puck and Pigskin World Headquarters in Red Deer, Alberta. Please smash the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we go live and post. And don't forget to drop your comments and questions into the chat, because viewer interaction is one of the best things about doing a fan-sided show live. We are back with a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk some Calgary Flames hockey with John Easthope and Robert Munich from the Red Mile Rundown. Then Coach Phil is back to talk about the CFL, Grey Cup playoffs, and more. Sorry, just clearing my throat here. First, let's start things off with the Fire and Horsepower Report, brought to you by the Elks Herd. Catch Catherine and Scout keeping you up to date on the Edmonton Elks and all Edmonton sports every Wednesday night at 8:30 Mountain Time on the Shotgun Sports Network YouTube channel and the Elks Herd Facebook page. Well, after a hot start to the season, the Calgary Flames have dropped 3 straight games to the Carolina Hurricanes, Winnipeg Jets, and Vegas Golden Knights. The Flames have given up 4 more goals in each of those games, and the Flames' next action is tomorrow night in Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Hockey Club. I'm sure we'll discuss the Flames' woes with John and Robert here in a few minutes. Transactions, October 25th, the Flames sent winger Matt Coronado down to the AHL Calgary Wranglers, much to the chagrin of many Flames fans. The Calgary Stampeders snatched victory from the hands of the Saskatchewan Roughriders on Saturday by a score of 27-12 in the last game of the season. Before you tell me it was a meaningless game, every game against the Riders is a meaningful game. And that meaningless win was the biggest win of the season to me. You can see post-game news and reactions from players and coaches at stampeders.com. Stamps finished the season 5-12-1 and missed the playoffs for the first time since 2004. President Jay McNeil did address the media after and confirmed that Dave Dickinson will return as head coach and GM. And there were no transactions, of course, because the season is all done for them. All right, our first guests are back to chat about some Calgary Flames hockey and some CFL football. John Easthope and Robert Munich, welcome back to Puck and Pigskin.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
How's it going, fellas?
Well, we're doing good. Yeah, the podcast is going well. Flame season is off to an interesting start, to say the least. So, yeah, things are going good.
That's great. I'm just messing with the settings here to get the best view here. I have my laptop set up far away now because the camera I have is a really crappy camera when you're close to it. So I put it far away so it looks much clearer. But the problem now is I can't see the screen.
It's all
some old man glasses.
Let's go with this view. We'll take this view. So last time we talked, the Calgary Flames were dominating the preseason. Since then, they got off to a dominating start in the regular season, but have since lost 3 in a row. Granted, to 3 pretty solid teams. Was that a hot start or just luck for the Calgary Flames? Let's start with you, John. What do you think?
It's pretty early to say that one way or the other, to be honest, but they got off to a really good start. These guys were engaged. They were ready to go at the hot start. Huska had these boys with a game plan, and they went out and executed it, and they got away with a few things at the beginning of the season here, in my opinion. Some things that, against higher opponents, we've seen in the last few games here, where it's really cost them some hockey games. And so we talked about it on our podcast ourselves, where a little bit of inconsistency from the Flames here. And for me, that's going to be the buzzword I'm using to start the season, is consistency for this team coming into periods, not really starting on time. As of late, has really caught up with them. They got away with it early in the year, not so much against these bigger teams.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably make an argument, like, now that I've had some time to sit on it, I would probably say that the Flames did get a little lucky to start the season. It was just kind of one of those hot starts where everything was going right. Everything was going in. All your players were performing. Guys like Jonathan Huberdeau and Anthony Mantha look like they're going to be point per game players. You know, that's completely gone away now. Special teams was a big one. The power play was lighting it up to start the year. Now it's really, really slowed down. So I would probably make the argument that it was pretty much like there's quite a bit an element of luck involved with that. And I think just everything kind of went in the Flames' favor. And I think what we've seen in the last 5 games or so here is more of the team we're probably going to see moving forward this season.
Yeah, after the hot start, I think the coaches mixed up the lines a little bit in the game against Carolina, I believe it was. Is it fair to say that may have contributed to the loss in that game?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think in the Carolina game, I mean, the Hurricanes were all over the Flames in the first half, and they had to do something to spark the team, whether that was changing lines or maybe someone was going to go out there and throw a couple big hits or get in a fight. Like, something had to happen. So Carolina's they're just an outstanding team. They're a very well coached team. They're fast. They're really good. So I don't know if changing the lines really had anything to do with the loss. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm with Robert there. It doesn't help that you had a few players become passengers, and you had to be kind of force Ryan Huska's hand a little bit, as you saw, trying to get some guys going here. When you got your veterans not pulling their weight, like a Huberto, like a Mantha, those type of guys aren't going, you got to find ways to get a lineup going. And so I don't think shaking up the lines was the reason they lost the hockey game. When you're not starting on time, when you're just treading water because you're swimming here, it's hard to get a game going and be consistent in that game. And unfortunately, the result of that is Ryan Huska has to try something like shaking up his lines. And of course, it didn't work because Carolina's just that good.
Yeah. Now Dustin Wolf is 3-1 as a starter with a save percentage of .924. Does it surprise you that they keep going back to LATHR when Wolf is doing so well?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Thanks. No, it doesn't, because we heard at the start of the season that they wanted these guys to play. They wanted both these guys to play. Both these guys have something that they're trying to prove. LATHR's trying to prove that he is an NHL goaltender, a guy capable of handling number 1B loads in the National Hockey League. And Dustin Wolf's trying to prove that he is an NHL goaltender full time here. So these guys going back and forth in this rotation doesn't surprise me one bit whatsoever. It is a bit interesting, the games that each of these guys are getting. Dustin Wolf, you could argue, is getting the easier slate of games, but I'm not surprised one bit. This is how they're using these guys.
Yeah, we were talking about this on our podcast yesterday, and I do think there's like a bit of an element of sheltering or protecting Dustin Wolf to start this season. Mm-hmm. I mean, John mentioned it there. Dan LATHR, he's been getting some pretty tough starts. Like, he starts in Vancouver on opening night, hostile environment against the Pacific Division champion. Then he goes to Edmonton, hostile environment. And then he's playing against Carolina and in Seattle, in Vegas. They're putting LATHR in all these situations, in my opinion, on purpose. And I think it's to kind of help shelter and help out Dustin Wolf as a young rookie goaltender in the NHL. So I'm not surprised that they keep going back to LATHR. I do think at some point this season, they will end up going with Dustin Wolf as like their de facto starter. But I think they're going to try to protect him and kind of ease his way into the NHL in his full rookie season.
Yeah, that's fair. I never thought of it that way, but that totally makes sense. The Jets record would have you believe that they're a solid team, but 3 of their wins came in overtime, and they got wins against the Blackhawks, Wild, Sharks, Penguins, and Kraken. Are the Jets really good, or should the Flames have beat them in that game?
Actually, John and I, we both think the Jets are kind of frauds a little bit, which is kind of funny. I do think that they deserve to beat the Flames on Saturday night. I thought they were the better team, even though they did get a couple lucky goals against Dustin Wolf. But I'm just not totally sold on the Jets. I don't really like their center depth. I'm not a huge fan of the coach. I'm not a huge fan of the defensive depth. But I mean, geez, they're getting good performances from Hellebuck and Scheifele and Kyle Connor right now, Josh Morris. I mean, there's some really good players there, but I don't know if they're like a Stanley Cup contender. That, to me, they kind of remind me of like the Calgary Flames from like 2017 to 2021. lots of like really good players, but just not able to kind of put it all together when it comes to the playoffs.
You asked us earlier if the Flames had a bit of luck to start their season. The Jets, speaking of the season, is all luck. Go look at their underlying numbers. This team, I don't want to use the word fraudulent, but what else can you use in this instance? They got lucky here, a bit of a soft schedule start. Credit to them, though, for going out there, putting the performance on ice to have the results to be in that position. You saw them against the Maple Leafs, though, the other night, and they absolutely got the show run for a good 40 minutes of that hockey game. It'll be interesting to see if Hellebuck can hold up over a full season. He can be inconsistent at times because that blue line hold up. There's a lot of changes on that back end. And rookie head coach at the behind the bench there, they bound to make mistakes when things get a little bit tougher, a little bit more pressure on them. I'm not buying the Jets. I don't have them as a playoff team in my preseason guesses. So people will come at me if I'm wrong here, but that's okay. I take it on the chin as a good guy would.
Yeah, like, do you think it's really luck, or do you think it was scheduling? Because those are some pretty weak teams that they beat in the beginning here. Matt Coronado sent down to the Wranglers. Got to get your opinions on that. Let's start with you, John. What do you think?
Well, big topic on our podcast we put out this morning was the topic of Matt Coronado and what he deserves here, what doesn't he deserve here, and I'm at the mindset where I don't mind this being sent to the AHL thing. This guy needs to play high leverage minutes. This guy needs to play and develop and make himself undeniable is the word I used a lot. When he was up with the Calgary Flames, he was fine. He did things really well when he was put in the lineup in certain situations. He was a little bit inconsistent for my liking, But being put in the AHL, being able to play top power play minutes, being able to play top line minutes, getting all the minutes in all situations is a better spot for Matt Coronado rather than spending 10 minutes on a fourth energy line for the Calgary Flames for me. So this is all about development of this guy. Go to the American Hockey League, show your game, do what you need to do to be undeniable at the NHL level. And yeah, it can be frustrating when you're being played, when other guys who are probably not as skillful right now or putting forth as much effort like a Mantha is or a Huberto is. But NHL contracts didn't play a hand in this one. This is an easy send down, two-way contract guy, a kid. He's only 21, lots to learn, lots to show. Go be undeniable in the American Hockey League.
I'll play devil's advocate here, but I'll say that Matt Coronado should be in the NHL right now. There's no reason for him to be in the AHL at the moment. And the big argument is pretty much between him and Anthony Mantha. And so far this season, in a much limited role compared to Mantha, Coronado has been way better than him at the NHL level. Like, quite honestly, it hasn't even been close. It hasn't been close with the numbers. It hasn't really been close with the eye test. I really believe that Matt Coronado deserves to be in the NHL right now over a guy like Anthony Mantha. Who cares about Anthony Mantha? He signed for 1 year. Put him in the press box. Put him on the fourth line. Prioritize Matt Coronado ahead of a guy like Mantha right now. So let's say that Coronado should be in the NHL.
So now I'll start with you, Robert, with this next question. Is there anybody that didn't crack the opening night roster that you feel should have?
I mean, yeah, you can make the argument Coronado because he was a healthy scratch that first night, but I don't think so. I think the people who actually made the opening night roster deserved it. Sam Honzik was incredible in the preseason. He deserved it. Adam Klapka was great in the preseason. He deserved to be on the team. I guess the one argument you could make is, should Joel Hanley have even been on the roster? And I mean, he's played 2 games in a row. He's you haven't really noticed him all that much. So maybe you can make an argument that Hanley shouldn't have been on the opening night roster, but I'd say they got it right for the most part.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, there's not much to argue there. The only thing that I would have changed if it was me would have been because of the Sharangovich injury, kind of change your picture a little bit of who you wanted to keep and who you could keep. I think Matt Coronado earned enough to be in the opening day lineup, like Robert said, but it was a numbers game at that point. No big surprises for me whatsoever, to be honest.
Now, did anybody crack the lineup that you think shouldn't have cracked the lineup?
I'm with Robert on this one. It shouldn't have been Joel Hanley. All due respect to the veteran, this is a guy that is waiver eligible. This is a guy who can be picked up, dropped at any time. This is a very good warrior for a team, but he's always just a depth piece. He's always a number 8-7 defenseman on any team around the National Hockey League. Dallas waived him for that exact reason. Other than him, there's really no other surprise other than Samuel Honzik's great camp. But he's earned that opportunity, that spot. So other than Hanley, I really don't think anyone shouldn't have.
The only one that really comes to mind is, could you have sent Kevin Rooney down and kept Cole Schwindt with the Flames? Because I mean, the Flames, they desperately need young centers. They need right shot centers. Kevin Rooney's not going to be with the Flames organization long term. He's probably not going to be here beyond this season. So I guess, you could question why the Flames decided to keep him on the opening night roster instead of a guy like Cole Schwindt. You heard like on the radio and through reading articles that the Flames were really upset that they lost Cole Schwindt. Well, it's like, well, then why did you put him on waivers and keep a guy like Kevin Rooney? That just doesn't make sense. So, but they seem to love Kevin Rooney for some reason. So you can make an argument there.
So Rasmus Andersson leads the team with 10 points and is tied for the team lead for goals with 4. Is it as surprising to you that guys like Huberto, Kuzmenko, Kadri, Backlund, and Coleman aren't putting up better numbers, or is Andersson just going off the charts right now?
I think it's just one of those crazy starts where everything's kind of going right for Rasmus Andersson right now. I've honestly never seen him play at this level before. It's super impressive. Like, if the season were to end today, you could make a legitimate argument that this guy should be in the running for the Norris Trophy, at least to get nominated, because Cale Makar's been playing pretty well. But yeah, I think Anderson's been great. I don't really think that's a knock on any of the other veteran players. I think quite a few of those guys are playing well outside of like a Huberto and Mantha, but your Backlund, your Colemans, and Kadris have been pretty solid to start the year. But yeah, Andersson has just been, a level or two above the rest of the team right now. He's been playing phenomenal.
this is a motivated Rasmus Andersson. There's no doubt that he heard all these trade talks that these fans have been putting online, that some of the media suggest that he's on the trade block. He is a guy who is motivated to show that he is willing to be part of this Flames organization, put the work in, and to lead this group. You know that they told him that he needed to be counted on to be a guy to help carry this back end, as they have young kids coming here. And he's stepped up to the plate. He's taken the challenge on, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. And a bit of it might be luck, but a lot of it is also will and skill for Rasmus Andersson. This guy is dedicated to what he wants to do here, and it's really good to see. The stare downs on his goals are incredible to see. He's bringing a little bit of bite to the game, which you love to see from the guy, and it's motivational for these other guys that are playing with him. And it's really fun to see these other veterans. I think Backlund and Coleman have been really actually good to start this season, paired with Connor Zary, really forming a great line here. Nazem Kadri's been really good for the Calgary Flames. He had a really good start to special teams as well. A couple of other veterans can pick up their socks here, maybe take the spin, have a good shift every once in a while would be nice. But for Rasmus Andersson, this is a motivated player for me, and a guy who knows the situation, knows where he's at, and the Flames are reaping all the benefits.
Yeah, so the Flames looks like they are in Utah tomorrow. Then they host the Devils, Oilers, and then they head on an Eastern Coast road trip, Canadiens, Bruins, Sabres. So some tough games coming up. Utah Hockey Club is looking not too bad so far. Oilers, we got to talk Oilers as Flames fans, because anytime we see the Oilers doing bad, we got to talk about it. What's up with the Oilers, do you guys think?
There was a lot of changes in Edmonton, a little bit more changes than we might have think on the surface here. That bottom six is a completely different bottom six than what they had a year ago. They've let 3 defensemen go, and they're off to a slow start just like last year. So we probably shouldn't be surprised at the slow start, because we saw it last year. And just guys aren't ready to go. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the Stanley Cup hangover, even though they didn't win. I don't know whether they can't be bothered. It's hard to say how motivated this team is in October, because you don't win in October. You don't win the cup in October. You don't make the playoffs in October. It's just a slow start for me until they figure it out. But there was a lot of changes on that roster, and they lost a lot of character guys. A Fogle is a very good character guy. A CC is a very character guy in the back end. And then those 2 kids they lost on the offer sheet, Holloway and Broberg. Those are young character guys. And they lost a little speed for me as well. So I think they're trying to figure out who they are now after all of these changes. And it's just a slow start for me. No doubt to figure it out. Hopefully the McDavid injury isn't too bad for them. You don't want them to lose that way. You want them to lose on merit, not on injury here. So hopefully he's not out long term. But for me, this is just a slow start from Edmonton, trying to figure out who they are after all these offseason changes.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry to cut you off there, Robert. Let's not forget they started so last season.
And they ended up doing just fine. I mean, in the long run, they'll be okay. I agree with John on that, but I think the Edmonton Oilers, they're essentially like a 6-player team. And if McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, Hyman, Bouchard, Ekholm aren't going, which they're not right now, they're not a good hockey team. The depth is terrible. Guys like Arvidsson and Skinner have not performed very well. I'm with John. They lost a ton of speed. I think they lost a ton of depth last year. So this team is basically, it comes down to 6 players. Those 6 have to carry the Edmonton Oilers every single night, because they're not going to get help from the bottom end of their roster. And those guys have not been performing well. McDavid's had, probably one of the worst starts to his season in his career. Draisaitl has not been great. Bouchard hasn't. So, Zach Hyman's barely put up any points. That's been the big issue in Edmonton. I'm sure they will figure it out here probably pretty soon. But if those guys aren't going, they're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, Robert, you said you would only come back on the show if you could talk about the Canadian Football League.
Yes.
So
exactly.
let's do this. So do you guys both follow the CFL?
Yeah, I'm a big Stamps fan.
Yeah, I'm a Stamps guy.
Okay, you're both Stamps fans. Well, I had no idea. All the talks about Flames, I had no idea you guys were Stamps fans.
It's good. I mean, there's not too many people my age that like to talk CFL. So anytime I get an opportunity to do it, I like to do it.
The CFL definitely needs some work. That's for sure. They need to get the younger generation more motivated to follow.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah, so since you guys are both huge Stamps fans, let's get your thoughts on the Stampeders season. John, let's start with you.
Could it have been any worse?
It could have been. We could have lost to Saskatchewan at the end.
Well, Saskatchewan was playing second stringers. We have to remember that as well. So our first stringers were their second stringers, made for a pretty good football game. But it was a lot of turmoil around the Stampeders. A lot of just spinning the tires for me. Whenever I watched the Stampeders game, it was the same storyline. They're not getting quarterback play. They're not getting blocking. They're losing the battles in the trenches. And when you lose the trench battles, you're not going to be able to do anything on either side of the ball. If it wasn't for Rene Paredes, there wasn't a positive for me for the Stampeders this season, other than the fact that you got the message sent to you nice and clearly that you need to restart this thing. You are a truck stuck in the mud, spinning your tires. All due respect to Dave Dickinson, I think he wears too many hats in this organization, and I think it showed its head this year where he wasn't able to keep this team above water here. In my opinion, he needs to be general manager or the head coach and let somebody else take the reins on the other job and allow his coordinators to be more involved in the game plan and to maybe take over the play calling for him, lessen the load for Dave and allow him to do more things. And the front office really needs to help him out here with the player personnel side of things. A lot went wrong for the Stampeders. I don't want to sound like a negative Nelly, but when you only get a few wins on the season, it's hard not to be. I will say, though, the plan that we heard from their president, Jay McNeil, it sounds promising if you're a Stampeder fan. So hopefully the future is bright looking forward here. But there's a lot of work to do after a very disappointing season,
Yeah, I just watched that interview today, and it looks like Dave is sticking around as both head coach and GM. So
he is.
Well, Dave is like essentially the head coach, the GM, and the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's like I just before coming on the pod here, I looked it up. No other team in the CFL has a head coach and GM. In the Lions, they have Rick Campbell as a co-GM, but not a full-time GM. So the Stamps are the only organization pretty much in professional football that has that structure. And I think that's a big miss. But when you take a look at the season as a whole, it was probably the worst season since like 2003, like the Kevin Federick days, which is
gross.
And you know, hey, as Stampeder fans, we've been spoiled rotten with some great football for a long time. So like this was inevitable. It was bound to happen. But the big thing for me was just entertainment. Like I went to 3 games this year. Every single one, the Stamps laid an egg. They were just stinkers. And to me, it all starts at quarterback. Jake Mayer had a terrible season. He was just a really, really bad, dull, not an entertaining quarterback whatsoever. I think everything starting next year starts with the quarterback. They got to find somebody, whether it's making a trade for Trey Ford or Nathan Rourke or VA or signing PJ Walker. Like they got to figure out the quarterback position because Jake Mayer has been terrible the last 3 years. Don't mean to rip on the guy, but he's not the answer. You're not going to win a Grey Cup with him.
Yeah, and funny that we're talking about Jake Mayer, as Bo Levi Mitchell had probably the best season of his career this year.
Probably going to win the MOP.
You think MOP?
I think he's got to be in the running for sure.
John, what do you think for MOP?
I think he's definitely going to be in that conversation. I don't know if he wins it, but he's definitely in that conversation. The thing with Bo Levi Mitchell here is they were able to build a team around this guy, right? Because the quarterback play was good, the team around him played well and made him look really good. So he has these statistics because he was a playmaker, something we didn't see from Jake Mayer. And so when he has a Stampeder fan, this is a double-edged sword. He's like, ugh, we could have still had that guy. But at the same time, when we had that guy, we wanted to get rid of that guy. Well, some fans did anyways.
Yeah, I actually watched, I think, 3 Ticat games this season, parts of the game anyway. And it seems anytime I was watching, Bo was throwing at will anywhere he wanted. He'd pick places, and it was just insane watching him like that. It reminded me a lot of the Stampeders from, a few years ago. So it was really hard to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, he had that kind of like that gunslinger mentality back, hey?
Yes.
It was a
Yes.
classic
He
Bo
was
for a lot
throwing
of the season.
strikes. That's for sure. So I got to get your guys' predictions here for the weekend. It looks like we got Ottawa against Toronto and BC in Regina to face the Riders. Let's go start with you, Robert. What are your thoughts on those two games?
I'm gonna go with Ottawa taking the W. I'm a big Drew Brown fan. That was a guy who I actually really wanted the Calgary Stampeders to go after in the offseason when he was a free agent, but they decided to stick with Jake. So I think Drew Brown's gonna go into Toronto and upset the Argos. And then for the West, I mean, I live here in Vancouver, so I'm kind of hoping the BC Lions pull one out and end up making it to the Grey Cup. So I'll take the BC Lions to upset Saskatchewan in Ryderville.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take Toronto in that matchup. It's a better coaching staff there. They've been there. They've done it before really recently. That's a very well-coached group, so I think they can go in there and get the job done. Being at home will help that team as much as the 7 fans that'll be there will enjoy that game. And then I can't pick the Riders in anything. I just can't do it. I don't care who they're playing. So let's go BC.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the BC beating Saskatchewan. I agree with Robert. I think the Red Blacks and Drew Brown are going to go in there, and I think they're not only going to beat Toronto. I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
Nice. Well, hey, I mean that's we saw Toronto completely shit the bed last year in the East Final when their quarterback threw 5 picks last year. So maybe we could see something similar happening this year.
Now, regardless of what
sorry,
go ahead, John.
Brown's the X factor in that game for me. If he can go out there and perform at that high level, big chance for the upset. But I just think Toronto has the depth and has the playmakers that they could get the job done. And that coaching staff for me is the best in the CFL, just top to bottom what they have there.
I think regardless of what happens this weekend, I don't think anyone's getting through Montreal and Winnipeg anyway. So
that's going to be tough. Those are going to be 2 tough teams to beat.
All right, guys. Well, as always, it's great having you guys on. Love talking Flames hockey and now Stampeders football. So I'll definitely have you guys on a lot more to talk about that.
That sounds
Anytime.
Great.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Once again, that's John Easthope and Robert Munich from the Red Mile Rundown podcast. Sports fans and friends on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live or post, and like and follow at Puck and Pigskin on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think I'm all over the place. So our next guest is also a returning guest, and oddly enough was also on with John and Robert last time he appeared. Coach Phil, welcome back to Puck and Pigskin.
What's going on? How's it going, brother?
It's going. Are you in a closet? You in the backyard? Where are you?
I'm in the car, man. My kids, they loud and they battling, wrestling each other. So I said, nah, let me go to the car and do this.
Oh man. Give us your thoughts on the CFL season and maybe break down things that stuck out in your mind from this season now that it's all said and done.
Well, the regular season was very interesting to watch. First of all, the one that surprised me was the Chris Jones firing. That surprised the hell out of me. That they finally got rid of that. Obviously the stamps. Now, I heard y'all talk about my cousin Jake Mayer. We will not
cousin Jake.
We ain't finna take no cousin Jake slander over here. But yes, he did have a rough season, and I gotta defend cuz. I mean, like it's he didn't have his best season, but I hope that he gets a chance to really develop, grow, and continue to get better as a quarterback. Now, if they go make a trade and they go get somebody better, I can understand. Maybe he does need new scenery, but overall with the Stamps, it was surprising to see the downfall of them, because when the Stamps are doing good, the league is doing good. Dave being brought back for the next season, that's a surprise in itself. I thought they would have went and got Jordan McKisnick, I think, from BC. He's a very inquisitive mind when it comes to offense, and that's something that they've struggled with. Watching Calgary play against Hamilton when I was there, that was like, whoa, this team has a little bit of fight in them. Even though they were fighting internally a little bit on the sideline, they still got something. So don't count Calgary out next season. Obviously the Riders, we're in the hunt. We're in the hunt right now. We're in the playoffs. I'm very happy with Coach Mace and Mace we trust. Winnipeg turning their season around after starting out the way they did. And out east, after everything that happened with Chad Kelly, him coming back, Toronto on full gas right now, Montreal dominating. It's been a really good season to see.
Yeah. So you're talking about Jake Maier, and I'm just going to go back to Calgary for a minute here. Let's say they make a trade for a quarterback, or they sign somebody in the offseason. Do they keep Jake, you think, or do you think he may be a playing piece?
I think Jake would be a good playing piece. I think he would be somebody that it's tough to say, because maybe he does, like I said, maybe he does need new scenery. Maybe he needs to be a new offense to showcase his talent and be a success at quarterback, or you keep him as a in relief, as a backup. If they go get VA, it's over. If they go get Trey Ford, it's over. It's a wrap. Like those are two, especially if they go get VA. That would be the move. That you have to go get some receivers. You need to tune up that offensive line. Without a great offensive line, doesn't matter who your quarterback is, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, now I keep hearing talk about going and getting VA and going and getting Trey Ford. What makes people think that those two guys are going to be available? I mean, if you're BC, you can't get rid of VA.
Well, you gave Nathan all that money. They want to see that project.
That's true. That's true.
You want to see that project come to fruition. With Vernon and Trey, it's the fact that they are athletic. They're box office. You want that. You want that as your. It's almost like having a Lamar Jackson. The kids would love to see a quarterback those quarterbacks that athletic, that can run with the ball, that can throw the ball over a country mile, and can make plays and make your offense prolific. Now, when it comes to the big game, can they get it over the hump? I think Vernon can get it over the hump and win a Grey Cup anywhere he goes. He can go to Edmonton, and that I would love to see him go to Edmonton personally. That's just me. Him connect with Geno and those weapons. If they bring back those pieces and that defense, by God, Edmonton's a favorite. But that's neither here nor there. But if he goes to Calgary, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. So talking about Trey Ford, you think that the Eskimos are going to go the route of McLeod Bethel Thompson over Trey Ford, or what are your thoughts of what's happening there?
Ooh, that's a tough one right there, because McLeod did play good in certain situations. It all comes down to money. It all comes down to, I personally feel like Chris Jones messed up Trey's development. I think with Trey, it's whatever he wants to do. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to sit there, and I'm not a media reporter or anything like that. I'm just going to say whatever Trey chooses to do, I'm going to support it, because I'm a big fan of Trey Ford. But they may go with McLeod. I don't know. It's a tough one right there. I can't really answer that one for you right
now. Sticking with quarterback talk, how about what's happening in Hamilton? Mm-hmm. Does Bo Levi Mitchell look like a man on a mission, or?
I mean, you can't really be a man on a mission when you're not in the playoffs, but that's just me. No, he balled. He balled the second half of the season. For everybody saying he should be in the MOP conversation, yeah, you need an offensive guy in there, because routinely it does go to an offensive player, but he was gunslinging and slinging it everywhere to prove a point that he still got it. Hamilton is a scary team too. Hamilton and Edmonton are very much alike. They're young, but they have pieces there. If they make a couple moves here or there, they're going to be a problem in the East, like they've been the last couple of years.
Now, I saw in one of your most recent videos, you and the boy were reacting to the last week in the CFL, and you said, "I can't say Scamilton." Can you explain why you can't say Scamilton? Are you contractually obligated to no longer say the word Scamilton?
Well, I mean, yes and no. So the I'm gonna give you the truth. When I went to Hamilton, they were a little nervous about me coming, and because I had said a whole bunch about them, and I let it be known, like, look, it's all love. It's not that deep. Somebody got to be the heel, and Hamilton just happened to be the team that I was gonna heel on, and it's all love between me and them, and I can kind of still say Scamilton, but I'd like to make it where, I'm nice to everybody. I'm still gonna heel, but I'm not gonna go as hard as I used to.
It's funny because you said you can't say Scamilton, so really you did say Scamilton without saying Scamilton.
No, I can well, if the boy says it, all right, he's a kid. But if I say it, I know better, I can kind of throw it in there a little bit, but I'm not gonna go after experiencing Tim Horton Field and being around the people, man. They're really good people, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of the boy there, I really like seeing your boy on the videos. He's funny. He's hilarious.
He's a cut up, he's a chop up. What's the saying? He's chip off the old block. He's learning. He wants to do it. I'd be like, you sure you want to do it? I mean, it's gonna be a long sitting there, and he's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And I'm like, okay, come on, let's do it. And he's really enjoying himself right now.
Now he's not quite as outspoken as Dad yet, but he'll get there.
Oh no, it's coming. It's coming. And I already know when we go to Grey Cup, when I do interviews and stuff, he's already said, I want to ask questions. I want to ask questions. Okay. Go ahead, ask your question, whatever. Because the one thing he's really like in love with right now, funnily enough, he wants everybody's jersey, and he hasn't really picked his team yet. But I'm afraid that he's becoming a Winnipeg fan.
Oh no!
Because he saw them get Popeyes, and he saw Brady do the chicken dance in the end zone. I was like, oh. My daughter's already a Winnipeg fan, so I'm like, all right, that's y'all ODing right now on this right here. Come on now, don't do that to Dad.
Oh, we got a comment here on the Scout says, Coach Phil and Jason, best combo.
Hey, shout out to Scout, man.
Thanks, Scout. Shotgun Sports Network, Scout. Now, talking about Winnipeg Blue Bombers, boy likes the Bombers. The Bombers seem unstoppable with Collaros, Oliveira, Lawler, and Dembski. And the Montreal Alouettes looked very impressive this season. Are these two going to meet in the Grey Cup, or is there a dark horse we need to be aware of?
We the dark horse. The Riders are the dark horse. Out of the West, necessarily, but the East, it's Ottawa. Ottawa is super duper talented. They just got to be more disciplined in what they do on defense, and offense has to click at the right time. Drew Brown has to cut down on errant interceptions, and they could win the game. Now the one person that they have that I think that can help them be an asset is Jamal Morrow. If Jamal's hammy is good, he's playoff Maul. They're going to be a problem with him running the ball in that offense.
So then obviously you're picking Ottawa to beat Toronto this weekend?
Hell yeah.
I am as well. I think it may actually be a slaughter, but we'll see what happens.
Why do you think it's going to be a slaughter?
I don't know. I just have a feeling. I watched highlights from the games over the weekend here, and Drew Brown just looked like something else. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Argos.
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens. I think that they're having time this week to get their shit together. Everybody's gonna be battle tested, and they did lose some pieces defensively over the season. Darius Pickett being out for the rest of the season, but that offense, it usually in the playoffs, and I was gonna mention this when we talked about the Riders. When it comes to the playoffs, every possession counts, obviously. but defense usually becomes the forefront. Whose defense can make the biggest stops? I do believe that with that front line, it's going to be fun to see both front lines go at it. Toronto's disciplined offense, Ottawa's crazy defensive line with Lorenzo Malden, Wakefield, all them. It's going to be nice to see. A Bryce Carter, that's going to be fun to watch.
And obviously, you're gonna pick the Riders to beat BC this weekend. Do you think it's gonna be an easy game, or you think it'll be a pretty close one?
Who else picking the Riders?
Well, you said the Riders were the dark horse, so
I'll just play it. Yeah, I am gonna pick the Riders. Now that one's gonna be interesting. Because you got Vernon back there. Big fan of Vernon. Love Vernon to death. Our back end has to be so on point. You have to let Vernon's going to get his. Let's make no mistake about that. Vernon's going to get his. But that front line, even if they send only a 4-man pressure, you got to create pressure that's going to make him have to throw it to his left. You do that, you're going to have you can get a couple interceptions out of him. And they got to be crucial interceptions where the offense comes out there and we don't just stall out after a big play. We got to create some points and we got to get in the end zone. Not just Brett kicking field goals and making it 3-0, 6-6, whatever the case may be. You have to at least put 17 points on the board to win this game.
I saw somebody, I think, say on Twitter that they believe that Toronto is going to sell more seats in their stadium this weekend than the Riders will. What do you think of that?
I mean, they sold out last season and in the East Final, and they lost.
True.
So
Doesn't matter who's in the seats if you don't win.
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Toronto. Toronto is a really good team, but we saw what happened last time when they were in the playoffs. Let's make no mistake about it. Can you force Chad Kelly to create interceptions, throw interceptions and attack him? Don't let him climb the ladder in the pocket. Hit him. Can you do that? Can you get your hands on him? Because he is shifty. I will give credit. That man is shifty. When he runs, it's not the prettiest, but he sure enough can get you the first down. Cut his field off, 2 and out. It's easier said than done, but you got to do it.
Yeah, and now you just recently accepted a interesting position, I guess we could say, with the CFL. Can you explain a little bit about that?
So I accepted a position doing joining the content creator program. It's me, 3 other prominent content creators: Preserve, House of CFL, Showtime Digital, Malcolm and them. Shout out to them, great brothers. Doing more content. CFL gives us content, we utilize it and put it to the forefront. We also do our regular stuff, things like that. So I'm working on what I'm going to do for the Grey Cup. I've got a big old plan that I'm going to do. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of big prominent people for Deep in the Game, my other show that I do. I'm going to be doing a live show with some of my friends for our little podcast that we do, Canadian Football Fanatics. Going to be on the sideline doing my stuff with my family and all that. So it's going to be a vlog, and also during the game recording and doing stuff for the channel. So it's they're giving access that haven't really gotten, but I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you to the CFL, TSN, all them for making this happen. It was kind of a year in the works, but now that it's happening, it's open doors. Then I've never been that. I've been close to CFL games like that, but not that close to where I'm like walking the sideline and recording live and just like taking it all in and getting footage, because the game is much faster when you're on the field than it is just in the stands. It's a wild, you hear everything. It's whoa.
Yeah, you said when you were on my show almost a year ago, I believe, or maybe it was a year ago, that you had something in the works, but you couldn't tell what it was. This was obviously it. Nice. Couldn't happen to a better person and fan, man. You're one of the greatest fans around right now.
I'm just a normal guy with a pretty cool job. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, as always, it's great talking to you. Let people know where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube, Coach Phil Reacts. You can go subscribe to the channel and join the membership. I'm doing World Series stuff right now for members. So if you want to join the membership, you're more than welcome to. Hopefully it's not just a sweep. I like to see New York get one win. Find me on Instagram, Coach Phil425, and also Deep in the Game Official. That's where I do all my Deep in the Game interviews and stuff. I have a very special guest I'm recording with this Thursday, CFL Hall of Famer. Doing that one. Find me on X, Coach Phil Reacts. Follow me there, and that's pretty much it.
And you mentioned Deep in the Game. Where can we find that?
Deep in the Game is on my YouTube channel. I've been thinking about making its own channel. I haven't really I'm still processing that. Do I want to do that or not? Because most of that'd be kind of like restarting with a new channel, but I think I might just do that. But it's on my YouTube, Coach Phil Reacts.
Excellent. Well, as always, my man, it is great talking to you, and I'm sure we'll connect again here in the next few weeks or so.
Yes, sir. We shall.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, Coach Phil, as always, a great guest, and I'd like to also thank John and Robert for hopping on, talking Flames hockey and Stampeders football. Sports fans and friends on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live or post. And like and follow Puck and Pigskin on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all kinds of stuff. That does it for me here at Puck and Pigskin World Headquarters. Go check out all the great shows on the Shotgun Sports Network, including the Elks Call with my friends Catherine and Scout, aka the Elks Herd. They go live every Wednesday at 8:30 Pacific time on the that should be Mountain Time on the Shotgun Sports Network YouTube channel from Puck and Pigskin World Headquarters here in Red Deer, Alberta. Have a great night.